Hello guys, I wanted to have a video today discussing with you all about the recent passing of Dr. Robert Lockhart, and I also wanted to talk to you some about the whole dry fasting and fasting subject, in our communities. Yeah guys, I've been trying to make this video now. This is my third time that I've been attempting to make this video already, and the reason why I had to decide to redo it a couple of times is that I kept getting more information that that I had to add, or I wanted to add to this topic, this subject. And I have some points on my computer here that I just want to go over today. I want to, provide this video for you guys that may have lots of questions, and you may be confused at, why this would happen to someone that was a raw foodist for so long. And I just want to I love being able to take all of the information available that we have to ourselves, like a detective or a scientist, and put all the puzzle pieces together and to just do some research and really to try to paint the picture on what really happened to this great man, and let his story of what happened to himself be a great testimonial to us all on what we can do to prevent this from happening to some of us in the future. Because I feel like that if he had have just done a few extra things in his life, he possibly could have avoided that outcome. But first off, I want you all to understand that I have extreme lots of gratitude and appreciation and no judgment to this man at all. Dr. Robert Lockhart was an amazing man. He really did a lot for the raw food community and to the fruitarian community. Me and Kaylee, we got the opportunity to go and meet him at the Woodstock Fruit Festival in 2014. So, it was very interesting getting to meet someone like that had been a 40-year-long fruitarian and lover of the great tropical fruits. He was the man that inspired me and Kaylee to want to go check out North Queensland of Australia sometime for the lovely fruit that they have there. And so he did such a great job in trying to inspire others in the community, and he was a great motivator and inspirer of inversion, using an inversion table and doing handstands. He loved doing those kind of things. But what I want to do today is I want to take all the available information on what happened to him, and I want to kind of explain several things that was kind of like evidence on what happened, and kind of bring it to the light and bring it to the surface so that we can get a better picture of what's going on the best we can. Now, of course, there's lots of stuff that we'll never know the true answers that really went on, because probably even his own family don't know everything that went on, with him, and what led up to what happened to him, But first off, I want to read a part of what his family posted on his wall, so that for those of you that didn't know some of this information, we can I'll first read over what it says, and then we can discuss the information they've told us, and then I want to discuss a few points that I've discovered about it that's very possible that it could lead up to this, that happened to him. And then we will talk about how we can understand how to use dry fasting and fasting as an important tool in our health journeys. But let me read this to you. This is a post that was posted on his wall by his family the day after it happened. He said that they said that as you may not be aware, Rob had eaten only raw food diet for nearly 40 years. Over the last 10 years, he significantly decreased his intake of water, drinking only minimal coconut water or freshly squeezed juice, quoting that he got all the water he needed from this high intake of mainly fruits he was eating. Now see, let's stop right there. I've done lots of research, and I've looked back at some of his older videos, and I've also heard some other people that gave some reviews about it. John Stearns gave a wonderful review about it and his points and what he thought. And we both agree that Dr. Robert Lockhart talked a lot about calorie restriction. He talked a lot about trying to do long intermittent fasting windows. He would try to intermittent fast for like 19 hours a day, and then do 4 or 5 hours of eating window, and he would try to only eat like a minimum calories, like only about 1,200 calories a day, which is sometimes not quite enough. So honestly, he probably wasn't getting enough, hydration and enough nutrition from just that little bit that he was eating, But let's keep going with first what they said in their in what they told about what happened, and then we'll start to break it down as we go through it. The next part, it says that in the last 5 years he commenced to dry fasting for periods of time which meant no foods or fluids, including water, for extended periods, up to 48 hours. He would also intermittently fast each day, no food or no water, for roughly 19 hours with 5-hour eating window. The doctors believe this had done significant damage to his kidneys over the years, and scans and tests performed showed atrophy, scarring, and significant reduced function. Well, see, we don't know if they did those scans to test his kidneys after he did the last round of dry fasting that he did before he had to go to the hospital. We're not really fully aware of that. But the main point I wanted to make in this video also, that I have put all this information together, is that I think that what the case was is that Robert Lockhart, he was a raw foodist, but he didn't believe in using the power of herbs. And that's where I feel like that he probably, when he switched over to being a raw foodist 40 years ago, he probably never did the proper necessary work with herbs and other things to make sure that his body was fully clean enough from all the trash from his colon and from the different areas of his body. Because, I'm not here to judge, I don't really know, but I'm just using my deductive reasoning to say that if he didn't clean out his body well enough, even before he, even after all those years of being a raw foodist, you would think that he would be able to get clean enough just from eating the raw foods and not use the power of the herbs. But that's not always true. See, we don't know a lot of information that's missing. Like, we don't know his genetics, we don't know how strong they were, we don't know how much genetic weaknesses he had in his bowels, and how much genetic weaknesses he had in his kidneys and his other organs. We don't know these things, and we don't know how seriously congested his body was with lymphatic congestion in these different areas of his body either, to be able to fully give an understanding on what was going on, So let's keep going with it. I just wanted to add that in there, that, see, that's another reason why all of this dry fasting could have been really hard on his kidneys and his body, is because he didn't use the power of the herbs, and he didn't get his body probably clean enough after switching from whatever diet he was on before he went to the raw foods and the fruits and vegetables and all that. But we don't fully know. I'm just saying that could have been one of the contributing factors, is that he didn't fully get his body clean enough, before he started doing all that intermittent dry fasting like he did, But okay, said that Rob's immune system was suffering, and he picked up a chest infection from a bacteria called melanosis. Well, remember, all melanosis, or all osises or itises, most of that is caused from inflammation. And then that's why it goes on and it says, this is found in soil and tropical climates. He was an avid planter of rare fruits, and he constantly tended to his trees and orchard. This contributed to a bad cough and mucus on the lungs, which he just said, "I'm just eliminating, don't worry." Well, see, that's another good point here, is that why was he having so much mucus trying to come out of his lungs? Well, see, that showed that his body, it needed to do a good detox or cleansing. Because remember, guys, we build up residue and trash in our bodies just from eating raw fruits and vegetables. Any kind of food produces metabolic waste. So at all times, we want to periodically detox, even if we're eating just fruits. That's why a detox becomes after you get your body clean enough and you're just trying to maintain and live as healthy as you can throughout your life. You want to still do periods of detox and fasting and using the power of the herbs to help make sure the bowels are getting clean enough, enough and staying clean enough and getting all their waste out of them properly from just eating the solid foods. And see, but by him not doing detoxing with the herbs and using the herbs to help clean out his bowels and keep his bowels eliminating properly, that could have been one of the contributing reasons why his lymphatic system was congested, and that made his lungs congested, and his other eliminative channels could have been congested. And so that would have made it harder on his kidneys and his body with trying to do so much dry fasting without using the help and the power of the herbs. That's one area that I agree with John Stearns a lot, is that I agree that he didn't use the herbs enough, or he didn't use the herbs at all from what we know of. And that's where he really missed out on the power of something that could be like a botanical medicine to help his body, but also to give him enough vitamins, nutrients, and minerals as well. Even after he's not detoxing. That's why we want to use herbs all throughout our journey, even when we're not detoxing. But okay, it keeps on going. It says, he then proceeded to do a dry fast of 72 hours, no food, no fluids, which pushed his body too far, and he admitted. In the subsequent weeks, he was quite debilitated. His kidneys started to shut down, which then meant he couldn't clear the fluid from his lungs, and his electrolyte balance was thrown off. Well, okay, also let me give you an example. Why would his kidneys, and why would all that start to happen? Well, he started having lots of acids that were congesting really majorly in the body, and that his body was starting to lose some of its immune response and his ability to be able to function correctly, because he had a lot of buildup of congestion and mucus and trash in his body. And again, he needed the power of the herbs. That's really, and he needed to do a lot of resting, not putting so much pressure on his body and his kidneys with all that dry fasting. It would have been better for him to just do juices and not do all that dry fasting. Even too much water fasting probably would have been stressful on his body at that time. Combined with his lungs not getting adequate oxygen due to the infection, which was later diagnosed as pneumonia, also put more pressure on his heart. Well, again, why would he produce all that extra fluid and edema in his body? He had some inflammation and some swelling going on, and that probably caused the pneumonia and the extra water weight, because again, his lymphatic system and his system was dirty with lymphatic waste. That's also why his lungs were trying to cough up the mucus and the congestion. And so it's on top of the mucus and congestion in his lungs, on top of the water and that edema and the swelling. That was what was probably causing him to have those problems, for his heart and his kidneys and the other organs too. Because we have to remember, guys, as our body gets so old, it's going to start breaking down, regardless of how healthy we are. That's just part of the aging process. And so that's probably what was going on also, is that his body organs and parts were just getting more worn out, and they were easy to get fatigued and weak. And so that was one reason why they probably started failing like that, Okay, and he goes on and says, after much coaxing, he reluctantly went to the hospital for treatment, as he was on the verge of complete kidney failure and a cardiac arrest at home. He accepted testing and treatment in the hospital. Okay, well, here's a big point that we all discovered by the fact that he probably got treated, because that he probably had to tell the hospital, or either his family did too, that he was having the problem from that bacteria from the soil, and that he had the congestion in his lungs. So more than likely they gave him an antibiotic. Well, the other day I was looking on the ISOD group, the group for us graduates from Dr. Morris's class. I seen a recipe that was posted for Marcy with the clinic from Dr. Morris, or what she used to be with the clinic, and it was very interesting. This recipe that she has, it's called kidney and liver juice recipe to help the kidneys and the liver. And she talked about beetroots. She said beetroot can enhance your production of nitric oxide and dilate blood vessels, increase blood flow. But it said it also helps reduce inflammation and oxidative stress. It can also help protect your kidneys from damage. Okay, well, let me make a good point there. That's another reason why, guys, I do believe in the power of using fruits. Fruits are very important for us. And they're very important for helping us to have enough detoxing power. They're good detoxifiers, but they're not the only foods we need. We do need some greens and some root crop vegetables like beets and other things like that to give us a rounded out balance of all different kinds of foods and different medicinal properties that all these different foods have, including herbs. That's why I love to be all fruits for lots of periods of time. I love to indulge in the tropical fruits for long periods of time and not eat as much of those other foods. But I'm never going to sit here and tell you that we need to go our whole lives that way, because there is certain situations where, like for example, if he had been using some of these foods on top of eating the tropical fruits there in Queensland, it's very possible they could have helped his kidneys to be stronger and to function better. Because for example, said that beetroot can also help protect your kidneys from being injured from antibiotics, which can sometimes cause kidney failure. Okay, when I read that, I was like, well, that's probably what happened to Robert. When he went to the hospital and he had all of that weakness already to his body from doing all of the fasting and all the stress to his body and all the mucus on his lungs from that bacteria, that they probably gave him an antibiotic, and then that antibiotic made it even more harmful to his kidneys, and that's probably one of the things that contributed to his kidney failure. I also wanted to add that if he probably had have used some herbs that acted like a natural antibacterial, he could have helped to fight off of that bacteria that he got exposed to, or some essential oils. He could have even used tea tree oil from there in Australia that would have helped that bacteria naturally, instead of just trying to resort to using dry fasting. See, if he'd have used the power of the herbs with the antibacterial, antiseptic, antiviral properties that they have, and also the essential oils, like even myrrh and frankincense and a lot of those different essential oils, they are actually also antibacterial in a healthy way that doesn't hurt our own good bacteria. So see, that's another thing that could have helped him to prevent him from getting more weakened from that bacteria. There's so many wonderful herbs out there that help to keep us or help us to get well from bacteria exposure, viruses, parasites, so many different things, on top of just giving us enough power to detoxify our bodies properly, and also to help break up mucus and congestion, and also to help give us enough vitamins, minerals, and nutrients. So that was one more thing I wanted to add, into one of the things he could have done that would have helped him to possibly get over that bacteria exposure. Their quality and care respect for Robert was amazing and blessed us with another 2 weeks with him. Last Saturday he suffered with 2 massive cardiac arrests and then was placed in ICU on life support. We are all hoping he would recover. However, in the over the week, unfortunately, he did not regain consciousness. So that's why I fully believe that he probably had all of those things that happened. So to summarize, he probably didn't use herbs enough. He probably didn't eat enough of the wide variety of different foods that could help him, on top of doing enough detoxing and cleansing to help his body to be stronger. He didn't probably use the herbs and the other things to help give him enough vitamins, minerals, and nutrients that he needed as he got older and the body starts to get weaker as it ages. He probably didn't do that either. And see, a lot of us, we think, well, shouldn't he been able to get all that from just the fruits in this raw food, fruitarian lifestyle? Not necessarily, because sometimes the power of the herbs, like for example, there's one herb called Hoshiwu or Foti. That herb is amazing, and it has the highest source of zinc found that I know of. And zinc helps to prevent you from having cellular DNA damage. And so Hoshiwu is a longevity herb. It helps to increase your ability of your body to live longer. And that's in lots of Dr. Morse's herbs for the brain and the upper circulation. So that's a very important herb, But yes, that is my take on what happened to Dr. Robert Lockhart. And Dr. Lauren, not doctor, but Lauren Lockman, he chimed in and made a video talking about how he felt like that the dry fasting was dangerous from the get-go, because he's a real big proponent of water fasting, and he doesn't believe in dry fasting. And that makes sense, because he has a retreat center in Costa Rica just for water fasting, and then also he doesn't use herbs, and he doesn't believe in using herbs, and he tries to say that herbs are toxic, so of course he did have some good points in his video about certain things, but a lot of his information wasn't good enough for us to fully get the complete picture, because he's missing out on using a couple of things that we know of in our community following Dr. Morris that would help us be more rounded out, when that's mostly the power of the herbs. Herbs are such great medicine, and anyone that says herbs are not good and they're toxic, and that's just someone that they're not educated enough on the power of those great medicinals, botanicals that are greatly medicinal, So okay guys, what I want to talk about now with you for a minute before I let you go today. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Today I did it in my parents' health food store. This is their office in their health food store, because we're here helping them for a couple of days at their health food store. But what I wanted to go over with you now is, a lot of you guys in the community have been stirred up a lot real bad by this whole incident, and it's made you start to really fear and be concerned about dry fasting and not know if you can trust dry fasting or not to be safe. Guys, I want you to understand that dry fasting can be an important tool that we can use in our lives, but it has to be used responsibly. And it has to be used at the right stage of when you can handle it. Even doing too much intermittent dry fasting before your body's fully ready for that stage is not a good idea, because it can be too strong. So I want you to remember that, I put this up here so I can fully talk to you now, is that I want you to remember that the way it needs to work is, and here's to give you a good understand, and this is the best advice for you that's the safest for everyone, is that you need to work your way up the transitional ladder of healthy living and healthy detoxing. You need to first start with working your way off of the standard American diet and animal-based products, and get off of all the animal-based products first, and then work your way up to just the plant-based foods. And then start to clean up the plant-based foods and get the beans and grains and starches and all of those foods and all the processed foods out of there, or reduce them greatly, and start to eat more fresh fruits and vegetables. And then after you've gotten to just the fresh fruits and vegetables, and you're mostly on the raw food diet, and if you do eat any kind of cooked foods, it's real clean cooked foods and not mucus causing cooked foods, or very minimal mucus causing cooked foods. Then you can start to incorporate more fresh juices in your diet and lifestyle, and start increasing the hydration in your body with the fresh juices. That's always the first place you want to get lots of experience with first, is lots of juices first. Okay, then that starts to get the body more used to you doing more liquids instead of just eating solid foods. So you don't need to go to fasting of any kind, even juice fasting, water fasting, or dry fasting, until you've got your body used to not eating even any solid foods, period. And then you want to go to drinking juices more. And then when you get your body more used to you just drinking juices for a little while, then you can start practicing what's called intermittent fasting, with just drinking liquids some, just juices, and maybe some teas sometimes, and get your body just more used to you not eating solid foods and just eating more, drinking more juices. Okay, then you can start to work your way up and do a juice cleanse. And then you can get your body used to you just drinking only juices. And then you can start to experiment some with water fasting after you've gotten your body lots of experience with juices. And then when you've got your body experience with some water fasting, then you can start to incorporate some dry fasting longer term. But now, when to do the intermittent dry fasting? Do the intermittent dry fasting when you've gotten your body up into being used to doing some juices. And then you can start to incorporate the intermittent fasting, maybe 8 to 12 hours a day starting off. And then you can start to incorporate it some even into the longer periods of time too, as you keep cleaning up the body. But if you're just coming straight off of a heavy diet and still coming off of eating lots of heavy foods and animal-based products, you need to wait at least a couple months and really give your body a chance to really get some good hydration going on from the fresh juices and the real water-rich fruits and vegetables before you start to do too much intermittent dry fasting and too much extended dry fasting. So guys, remember that it's very important to learn how to transition properly up the ladder of these different ways of detoxifying our bodies. And I hope this video has helped you today to bring some clarity and some light to this subject. I send out so much respect to Robert Lockhart and his family and to everything that went on with them. I hope, guys, that you really enjoyed this video. I hope you got something good out of it. I hope it was very beneficial to you. And if you have any questions for me in any way that I can help you, remember I still have my coaching program going on. It's called 2020 Reboot. And if I can give you an eye reading or an herbal protocol or a health coaching of any kind, just reach out to me in any ways, guys. And I hope everyone's journey to Wellville is balanced spiritually, mentally, and physically. Take care, my friends. Have yourself a good one. Bye-bye.